Right, next job on the list is fitting a rear view camera, a reversing camera. I usually have at least parking sensors on my daily drivers. I've decided to have the Volvo as my daily driver, so I thought, shall I buy some parking sensors? Well, I could do. They're a little bit more hassle to fit, and they only kind of tell you what's going on, but for about 30 quid you can get a reverse camera kit that comes with a screen that goes over your rear view mirror, and you can just have it wired to ignition live, and you've got permanent rear view mirror in the form of a camera. Then also helps you to park, so I thought, yeah, let's give it a go, especially whilst we've got access to some of the wiring routes under the dash and stuff. So I've got the tailgate open. I'm going to try and remove this panel. So we've got these little clips again, little 90-degree turn on the screwdriver, and they pop out, become loose. I don't know if they're captive or not. I mean, it looks like the whole panel will come out now without that falling out, so I'm just going to turn all these and see if I can. Yeah, there you go, they're captive, so that's nice. Won't be losing them. I've already pre-done that one. Turn that one. Oh, that one did come out. That's fine, I'll pick that up. And that one. I better pick these up. Okay, now that they're all loose, it's still being held on by something. I can see there's a lovely repair job being done there with some tape, so I'm going to remove this and see if this reveals anything. Right, so with the tape removed, it seems very wobbly and loose, but I can't quite figure out what's holding it on still. It seems to be they spring clips. What's going on there? Oh, that felt positive. There we go. Oh wow, check that beastie out. Nice. Don't know what kind of spider that is, but I'm just glad it's dead. So yeah, that came out from little tabs there, slid out on the clips, so I guess that was just a baggy fit, and that's why it was taped in place. Well, this whole thing seems a little bit loose still as well, so I'm going to figure out how to remove the rest of that. Okay, so there is a piece of trim here. You can see the line there where it breaks on the inside opening handle, which is currently set to open. You can have a child lock on there because we do have back seats under there. You don't want your children escaping whilst you're driving down the road. So I'm going to use a trim removal tool just to try and pry this away. Looks like it will unclip. Okay, so as you can see, I've loosened this part of the trim that surrounds the handle. And what there is, it looks like there's a clip up there that clips in that way. So by prying a screwdriver in and applying force towards the front of the car, it releases the clip. Both sides done, and then it looks like there's one at the side as well, so we'll try same trick. Right, yeah, so it's the same situation on the sides. There's another clip, and if you can just see, there's a little lip there on that clip, just touching it there, and that obviously needs pushing inwards. So all sides of this need pushing inwards to release it. That'll come off nice after that. Okay, so with that removed, we've got a Torx bolt there and a Torx bolt there that will release the handle mechanism from the trim. So the handle mechanism can stay attached to the tailgate frame. Where are we? There. and it'll allow us to take the rest of the trim off. Okay, so they were T25 Torx head screws, and with them off, the whole thing becomes very loose. Now, it is still held on, but at the back, and it seems to be just clipped round the back of the trim near the windscreen. So pushing this towards the front of the vehicle with the tailgate up, there we go, releases it. Now we're just being held by some wiring. That seems to be the wires for the high level brake light. A little bit of adhesive there on. There we are. We're clear. Just disconnect this plug here. That'll completely release us there. That's the panel removed. So the clips that were holding it on at the back seem to be the kind of clips that you can remove from their seat. Let's have a look down there. Let's have a look at this one. Is that a ladybird? Well, yeah, so if you squeeze them with some long nose pliers, you can remove these clips. By removing them, it'll make it a lot easier to refit to the window, because if you look at the aperture, the flats of those clips are supposed to slide into there, and I think sliding them into there and having the pointy bit of the clip sticking out and being able to push the panel back onto that would be a lot easier than trying to line up all of the clips at the same time, because there's 4 of them, into that very small little slither of a gap and slide them all in. I was wrong about how the clips come out. It's even easier than that. Just turn them 90 degrees, they come out. There's a little elongated catch, so you stick them in, turn them round. Now, don't know if that means, will they push in like this? Yeah, they will, quite satisfyingly as well. So that is how we'll put it back on. Let me just, it's really difficult to get the picture right on the recording, because I'm sort of holding it up towards the light of the sky and trying to not catch any light from the sky. So you slide that into there like that, and then that will now click back on for reinstallation. So now this panel's off, I can access my electrics, I can access the wires that I need to access in order to route for the rear view camera. If I wanted to, I could disconnect all of these plugs and give them all a good clean and service, make sure there's no corrosion going on. Lots of things tend to corrode at the ends of the wiring loom where there's a connection with the outside world from the interior to the exterior of the body. You get poor earths going on and high resistance and plugs corroding and water ingress and all that good stuff. Not going to bother with that just yet. Everything seems to work fine. It's not too bad of a job to get it all back open again if I need to, now that I know what I'm doing. So I'm just going to concentrate on the job in hand for now. Just adding to that, just after a bit of light dusting and cleaning this high level brake light, you can now see the holes where it used to be screwed on. So it's like a little clip at the back of there, and it's like a self tapper that goes through. So there we go. So I'm just going to put some new screws in there to hold that in place, and reattach that panel back to it, make sure it's all, I'm happy that it's all secure before I fit the main panel back in place, because that was annoying me. It was taped on, it wasn't secure. I don't know what's happened there, but I did find this screw. I feel like maybe that was used, that was one of the original screws maybe. It is a self tapper. There was only one in there, but it was just lying loose within the panel. I've just got a funny feeling that that's what used to be used, and they've been stripped, the threads have been stripped because someone's over tightened them, and therefore someone decided to just tape it on. So I'm going to use a slightly thicker self-tapping screw, try and get that secured and repaired back the way it was. Okay, so I'll have to run wires from... I'm going to mount the camera here. I'm going to have to remove this panel to be able to feed the wire. I think I'll try and go straight behind there with that gap. That should be enough just for the wire to sit behind and be pinched slightly, but the thing is, I'm not going to fit the wire just yet because I'm going to have, this is all going to be taken apart and cleaned, put back together, sort of restored a little bit. So for now I don't need it to be mounted, I just need it to be sitting behind here. So that means I can have it sitting in this void, sort of behind where that panel would be. So for now I just need to run the wires down here, which goes all the way down the interior edge of the tailgate. It comes out here and goes down the hinge and inside there and somewhere across the ceiling. So I'm going to have to remove this panel with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Phillips screws or crosshead screws. That'll give me more access to what's going on behind here and where the loom goes and help me to feed it through. And from there I'm going to have to remove this interior panel on the ceiling, which will allow me to route it over to one of the top rails, the roof rails, or potentially down the side at the rear corner, to join the rest of the wiring loom and route it towards the front. So I'm going to do a bit of investigatory work now and figure out the best place to route it and go from there. Okay, so lots of goodness behind here. That's with that piece of trim removed that I just showed you, and if we look in here, if I can get the camera in. Whoops. If I can get the camera in here just to show you. Can we go in like this? There we are. You can see the loom going through to a grommet at the back there. So what we'll have to do is make a slight incision in the grommet, push the RCA phono connectors through, which is what the camera uses for both power and video, ironically. I suppose you could call them component connectors. Push those through, make a hole smaller than those in the rubber grommet, force those through, so that when they're through, the rubber shrinks back to its original size, hopefully, which will be only just bigger than the wire that precedes them. So then, yeah, it won't be a perfect seal, but it'll be close. It's the best we can do. Okay, so interior trim. You can see those same kind of clips again. Flathead in 90 degrees to the left, and that releases those. And that was a complete and utter lie. These are different, just because. So there's a bit of a threaded bar in there, so as you undo them they just screw out. So I've unclipped the ceiling light again, and that has revealed one more the same kind of looking clip from there, and that will bring this down then, because the rest of it's already loose. So with this panel removed, this is our rubber bung from the other side. So we can easily reach out from this end and pull the wires through. And as you can see, there's the rest of the wiring loom going behind the headliner. So is it going to stay behind the headliner, or is it going to go down? Let's have a look. Yeah, so it goes down through. Oh, it seems to go down. Yeah, down the back corner. So it runs along and goes down behind this panel where the speaker is. So I'm going to remove that next. So getting the speaker panel off is really easy. It's just, there's just 2 clips here and 1 clip there, and they sit in those kinds of holders. So many cobwebs. I don't know why spiders think it's a good idea to make the home behind a piece of trim. Makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, so I've just pulled the headlining down, not the headlining, the piece of trim at the edge of the headlining. It goes along the ceiling. That's just held in with the same white clips that the rear speaker panel was held on with. I've just popped the panel out of the clips, but I've not pulled it down completely, just to give me a bit more room to get through to the loom. And then I've followed the wiring down the back of the rear corner of the vehicle, so that this panel is where the wiring will run behind. Well, we say that. Luckily we have a removable panel here, so if we move this out of the way and have a look for any wires coming down, there doesn't seem to be any here, so somewhere between here and there the wires come out and go somewhere. Now this panel will come off because I believe this is the access hatch to change your bulbs. I think it just pulls off. There we are. Just clips off. So now in here now we can see these are the speaker wires that are just there, but this one is the chunkier one that's come down from above. And when I wiggle this, you can see it wiggling there, so we know that's the right one. And that goes, I can feel that going down and joining with the speaker wires into a bigger loom, and it's actually moving this, so I think it comes down and joins into this behind this panel. However, we don't really need to know any of that. All we need to know is, can we bring our wires down the same way? Is there space? Can they be routed behind here maybe and picked up somewhere else? Well, possibly. It's looking like it's going to be easier to remove this panel though. So, spotted another 90-degree unlock clip. That's that one free. What else have we got? This seems to be hooked over the windowsill. We've got a piece overlap in there, so if we remove this clip from there and lift that piece, yeah, you can see it goes right under there. Lift this piece off, which I may need to take more off. I've got this load bay cover here, so I'm gonna have to remove that as well. But it looks like, other than that, it's just pinned on by this boot guard. So undo that screw, lift this a little bit, enough for this to come out, and we should be able to slide it from underneath here, to be fair, once we've got this end clear. Of course that hook is part of the panel, so that'll come out nicely, and it'll just need to lift off the window ledge by the looks of it. Okay, so with this removed, we can see quite a lot of stuff going on. We can follow our loom coming down really easy. It goes behind this panel, which we didn't have access to. This wasn't hooked around the top of the window ledge, it was just poked in to these holes. Now this seems to be the antenna for the Volvo fob that would give you remote central locking, and there seems to be a module here that it's connected to, so if you needed to get to that to service that. It also seems to be just the radio antenna, because that's the other end of the aerial for the radio. This sponge is completely gone. So from here we can easily route the wiring. We can get access to the filler neck for the petrol tank, the breathers, so, and the fuel lines themselves, it seems. Or is that the lines to the charcoal canister? That will be the lines to the charcoal canister. So now we've got to the point where we're over the wheel arch. It seems to run over the wheel arch, and then I imagine down to the sill over the other side. Again, I can't really can't post wires through to the sill from here, so I'm going to have to take more panelling off to reach that area in order to run these wires that I need to run. Okay, so just led the back seat forward a little bit and took off the load cover bar. So from here, I've already removed that clip. I believe this seat anchor point will need to be removed, because there seems to be a bit of a gasket between the two, but the panel really doesn't want to move without, you know, it seems like it's been held back by that panel, so that plate's going to have to be removed. Further up we've got a little clip there that I'm going to pop off with a little flathead screwdriver or a pick or a trim removal tool. That should reveal another bolt, and that should allow us to pop off this panel. However, the extension here for the load cover bar, see those two little circles, I feel like I'm going to have to pull those out. Plastic covers that need to be pulled out with a pick, and there should be 2 screws behind there holding that on. Whether that's held on, whether that needs to be removed or not, I don't know, but I'll leave that until I've taken the rest out and see if it comes out. If not, we'll take that off as well. Okay, so yeah, I did have to take that bracket off. 2 screws going into a metal bracket that goes straight through this panel, which I've now got just sitting there. So with that off, we can see the wiring loom going straight over the wheel arch and then down towards the sill. So from here, I'm going to route the wire in to the point where we can get it past the back seats, and I'm going to do a bit more dismantling from there and go from there. So it seems I forgot to press record on that last bit. So the camera's fitted at this end. So what I did was, you saw me take this cover off and I had everything exposed. This is the wire for the camera. I've just taped it to the wiring loom coming up the hinge and going behind, posted it through this little rubber grommet, and what I did was I used a rather thick tie wrap, taped to another one with the end clipped off, taped to another one with the end clipped off, and I taped this around the end of the phono cable. That was then used to push through a hole that I'd made through this grommet. It was stiff enough to route down here, and I got the wire hanging out here, and then what I did was I just followed the pre-existing loom that's inside the tailgate and brought it up to behind the catch, so behind the handle here. What I didn't show you was there's 4 attachment points for this unit. There's a bolt here, a nut here, a nut here, and a bolt here. They're all 13mm, and you can reach them through little access holes that are in the paneling, the metal paneling behind this. So when this was off, you'll be able to see the holes that I mean. Quite easy to see, quite easy to undo. I just undid it enough just to get, I took this one out fully, this one out fully, this one out fully, and just took this one out enough to lift up here to post the phono lead down underneath here. It's actually about here. There's a hole going through into the tailgate carcass. That's where I posted the wire, pulled it through, attached my camera here, and then inside here, behind here, I just pushed the connectors together, taped them off, tie wrapped them out the way. That left me with this going down through into that grommet in there. Since then, I've put this unit back on the ceiling, so that is hidden, but then I followed the loom behind here. You can see that's my wire there. Came down, went across here, over the arch. You can see it again there, over the arch. And we've got as far as the end of this panel, which is where it comes down to the sill. So that it's all fed in now. I just haven't replaced this panel yet because that goes over the next piece that I haven't took off yet. So that's where I'm up to with the reverse camera installation. So I have just sort of tidied up behind myself. The only thing I've left off is the panel here, which holds the rear speaker in place. So I'm just going to do some testing with that and make sure we've got power coming to that for the speakers. But yeah, for the time being, I'm going to carry on now and do the front end installation of this reversing camera. Okay, so I'm now in the back seat. We can see there's the cable coming over the wheel arch. That's going to go behind this panel with the loom. So to do that, I'm kind of working in slightly wet weather at the minute. Not much I can do. I've got to release this panel, which is all one piece all along to here. So I'm going to try and get something behind that to get this panel off. Oh, there we go. Always helps to have a little bit of a fingernail. And it looks like the T20 or T25 screw again there. That'll undo this end, and I believe the rest of it will pop out with these clips. Just like a tight grip fit. It'll just pull from behind the top lip of this rubber seal, and I can post this cable behind it. Once I've got that off, this will be the next piece. This is all one piece, is it? No, yeah, this is all one piece with the front. Now, in a previous episode, I undid the first 2 bolts at the front of this piece. There you can see the cover for the 3rd bolt, well, screw. So just by taking that cover off and undoing the 3rd screw, should be able to pop this off. This will probably be going through both this panel and this panel, so by removing this and removing the screw behind there, this panel will become loose. All I need to do then is tuck the wire behind the panel, pop it back, and that'll take us all the way to the front of the vehicle where all the main wiring loom is exposed. I've pulled that from out of its little cubby hole next to what would be the glove compartment, so at that point we can intersect with the other cable that will come down from the rear view mirror area. So let's get that bit done. It didn't take long for me to make a mistake. I've got this piece up and it's coming out nicely from the trim. However, I've just realised that down here between the seat there's a bolt going through this panel which is an anchor for the seat belt. Now I could lift the seat up and undo the bolt and take the panel off, but because this is coming away nicely and it's pulling itself from behind the seal, that means that I could actually just post the wire behind the panel like that and just follow it down. Get a bit tight there, but follow that down with a trim removal tool. I can just post this all the way behind this panel and then just screw that back down and it's back in place. Don't need to take any seatbelt anchors out because those bolts can be quite stuck in. Even if they're not stuck in, it just saves time. You know, I don't need to have it zip tied to the loom every 6 inches. It just needs to be behind the panel in a safe place where the loom is, where it's not going to get trapped. Okay, so here we are. Got this coming out of the front end of the sill cover. So this power cable needs to be connected to a switched ignition live. This final lead needs to be plugged in, well, it's a video signal cable. It needs to be plugged into the rest of the kit that came, that goes up the A-pillar and across the ceiling cover, or the roof liner I should say, clips onto rear view mirror. So we're going to get that piece now. Okay, so I've decided to start from the other end for now to finish it off. So I've just clipped this screen on, which just clips on like a phone holder. It's got like spring loaded feet at the back, so you just slide the wire over the rear view mirror, and it's hard for me to do this one-handed, but it kind of just pushes on and gets a pretty decent grip, to be fair. So that's on there, nice and solid. I'm going to run this wire along the top of the roof lining. Now this vehicle, unlike many, has a nice little plastic trim which runs just at the front of the roof lining, so I can just post the cable into the trim and just push that in with a little trim tool, and that'll just hide nicely in there. So I'm just going to follow that along, connect this up. There'll be some more of the same wire, take it down inside. I've already removed the clip from up here. There's a clip that goes over this, and then there's 2 screws that hold in the 2 screws either side that hold in the hand rail, if you will. That releases this. That exposes another screw here, which releases this, and then there's some of those clips, the spring clips that you can pop off, that releases it further down the A-pillar. I'm gonna post the wire as far down there as I can, and try and get it to dangle down somewhere under here. See how we get on. Okay, so that is the cable going in behind. I've pushed it in all the way along. Where the join was, you can just about tell there. That's where the join was. I had to push it in and sort of pry the carpet, the headlining just back over it a little bit. It's still quite well hidden. Comes along down here. I took this A-pillar trim off. That's going down behind the dash and comes out down here. It looks like it's going to be just long enough, only just long enough, which is crazy. I'm going to have to obviously extend this wire in, which needs to join up with the power wire there, and send that to an ignition feed, so I can have, so this will effectively act as an electronic rear view mirror at all times, so I don't need to switch it on and off for parking or anything like that. With this trim removal, they have some clips. It looks like the annoying kind of clip. Let me just get one out for you. So that was inside the A-pillar. This slides into the back of the trim. So this will slide in those little wings, will slide behind. There we go. So that's how you'll reinstall it. That locks behind there. They push and clip it back into the holes in the A-pillar. Further down there's a white clip there that stays in the A-pillar, and it needs to slot into that, and as you push the A-pillar into place it will lock in. That's pretty much as simple as that was. I've found a little bit of damage here on mine. I don't know if that is damage or if it's supposed to be like that, but I'd say it's damage because that's where the soft air duct boot sits through. But it is soft and you can easily push it through and pull it back into place when you're reinstalling the panel. So there's no need for that to have been made like this from factory. It doesn't need to come through a gap. So I think this has been broken at some point. I just look closely, yeah, you can see it's focus. Yeah, you can kind of make out it has been snapped. It's not a finished surface whatsoever. So that is pretty much in place now. Just need to pop the panel back on and get some wiring done. Okay, so that's all plugged together. All the power cables popped into a spade connector. I've got a line here with a male spade that can go in. That is connected to a switched live on the ignition, and if I just hit the ignition we should see some life. There we go. We've got life, no signal. Is it going to change its mind? What's it doing? It's having a bit of a trip. So I'll try and figure out what it wants. See if I can get it working. Well, I figured it out. It was missing something quite important. The earth. I don't even know how that was managing to flicker on without an earth, but I've just put a female spade here, very conveniently located. Here's a little earth or grounding hub, a spur, and there's a spare socket on it, or a spare spur on it, so I've now popped that on there. Take two. We're on. No signal. Why is there no signal? Troubleshoot part 2. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where you learn not to put everything back together until you've tested it. So we're going to have to take this panel off again now, which will reveal the join in the loom for the signal from the camera. I won't bore you with the details, but it was a loose connection. So now we're on, and yeah, take a look inside. We have a visual. So we're all done. It works on the key. Ignition off, gone. Ignition on, and we're on, ready to go. Job done.